The Lord be with you. A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Luke. An argument arose among the disciples about which of them was the greatest. Jesus realized the intention of their hearts and took a child and placed it by his side and said to them, "Whoever receives this child in my name receives me, and whoever receives me receives the one who sent me. For the one who is least among all of you is the one who is the greatest." Then John said in reply, "Master, we saw someone casting out demons in your name, and we tried to prevent him, because he does not follow in our company." Jesus said to him, "Do not prevent him, for whoever is not against you is for you." The Gospel of the Lord. We have this fantastic reading from the book of Job this morning of this terrible situation that befalls this good man. It seems terribly unjust that Satan, this accuser, would take everything from Job except his life. And in this story, we see that God is ultimately in charge, that everything happens only by God's allowing it. And yet Job, because he's a righteous man, does not curse God, does not take all the things that he has lost, all the people that he has lost, all the way that he has become afflicted, and use that as a reason to accuse God, as Satan does. Instead, he takes it as a child does, recognizing this makes me deeply unhappy, recognizing I might not get these things back, but nonetheless not cursing the one who gives them, because God has not taken them forever, but only for a time, as we know from the rest of the story. However, this tendency to accuse is exactly the opposite of the childlike reaction of Job, that he simply lets these things go and weeps over them, mourns over them, endures his affliction, wishes for his affliction to end even. But he never curses God, he never accuses God of being not God, the way that Satan does. And so we can see in the gospel as well, this same sort of innocence, that Jesus takes a child and presents him to his disciples, saying, whoever is lowly, whoever is like a child, whoever receives a little one, receives the blessing of God, receives Jesus Christ himself. And then the little one among the apostles, John, asks a very simple question. How do we know whether someone is with us or against us? How do we know whether someone is a friend of Satan, an accuser, or someone who is a friend of the Lord? And Jesus gives him very simple advice. Do not prevent this person, for whoever is not against you is for you. I think ultimately this is a very childlike attitude, to not try to jump to judgment or conclusion about whether someone is on the right side or the wrong side, but simply to accept what comes and to allow ourselves to work alongside people who may or may not be like Satan, like an accuser. But nonetheless, for us to trust that God works in us, God is ultimately in charge, that nothing will befall us that is ultimately going to rob us of God, so long as we maintain this same innocence, this same posture of holiness that Job possessed, that St. Wenceslas possessed, that we celebrate today. This childlike attitude of faith, trusting that God is in charge, God will provide, and the good things that we lose for a time ultimately return to us in greater abundance in this life and the life to come.